We just got a massive information bomb dropped on us for Resident Evil Requiem, and everything we've seen so far points to this being one of the most ambitious entries in the series. Following the huge reveal at Gamescom opening night live, Capcom let the floodgates open, with tons of new demo footage hitting the internet. This isn't just a small glimpse or chance, we're talking about core gameplay mechanics, deep story connections, and confirmation of leaks that have been swirling for months. The hype for Resident Evil 9 is officially off the charts. We've got so many incredible details to break down, from the tragic backstory of our new protagonist, Grace Ashcraft, to the terrifying new Stalker that will be hunting her, and even some juicy details about a certain fan-favorite character's rumored return. We're covering it all, so let's get right into it. The centerpiece of the Gamescom 2025 presentation was a brand new story trailer, and it did not disappoint. Instead of focusing on explosions or action, Capcom put all its cards on the table for atmosphere and character. We got a deep dive into the history of Grace Ashcraft, and it's clear she's been through some serious trauma. The big reveal, though, was seeing her mother in these flashbacks, none other than Alyssa Ashcraft from the classic Resident Evil Outbreak games. This is a massive connection for longtime fans and immediately grounds Grace within the larger Resident Evil universe. Seeing a young Grace and her mother together before everything went wrong, the vibe was just perfect. It was haunting, and it beautifully set the stage for the game's focus on intense personal horror. But why is Capcom focusing so heavily on a brand new character? According to the well-known leaker, Dusk Golem, this is a calculated, long-term move for the franchise. Think about it, Resident Evil hasn't introduced a new main character with real staying power in over 2 decades. Most of our beloved heroes like Chris, Jill, and Leon were established way back in Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. As the timeline moves forward, these characters are getting older. Ethan Winters from RE7 and RE8 was fantastic, but his story was very self-contained. He was never meant to be the new face of the franchise. Capcom is positioning Grace to be that new face, a character who can carry the series forward into the next generation. They're not just telling a story, they're building a future. Now, let's talk about the thing that will be haunting your nightmares. In the new gameplay footage, we were properly introduced to the primary antagonist for Grace's sections, the Stalker, ominously referred to as Big Mama. Leaks have all but confirmed that this terrifying creature is actually Grace's own mother, Alyssa, twisted into a monstrous form. This adds such a tragic and horrifying layer to the conflict. According to the details we have, Big Mama is nearly blind and thrives in darkness, but she has incredibly sensitive hearing. This sets up a gameplay loop that's all about sound and stealth. Every step you take, every object you knock over, could be a death sentence. The gameplay footage showed Grace moving slowly, crouching through dimly lit corridors, and the tension was just suffocating. This isn't a monster you can just run away from easily. It's a constant, looming threat that forces you to be hyper-aware of your surroundings. It feels like a direct evolution of the horror mechanics from games like Alien, Isolation, and it looks incredibly effective. So how do you fight back against a monster you can't see? With light. We got confirmation that Big Mama's biggest weakness is bright light. If you can make it to a well-lit room, you're safe. This creates a brilliant dynamic where the environment itself is your only real weapon. The goal isn't to kill the monster, but to survive it by creating safe zones. We saw Grace using a screwdriver to fix a fuse box, restoring power to an area, and allowing her to flip on light switches. You can just imagine the gameplay loop, navigating a pitch-black hallway, holding your breath to avoid making a sound, desperately trying to reach that light switch at the other end before she finds you. It sounds terrifyingly brilliant. One of the biggest pieces of news to come from the demo is that at the very start of the game, Resident Evil Requiem will let you choose your camera perspective. You can play the entire game in either first person or third person. This is a huge deal as it caters to fans of both the classic style and the modern RE engine games. Interestingly, the demo itself recommends playing Grace's section in first person to enhance the horror element. This tells you everything you need to know about their design philosophy. They want you to feel completely immersed in Grace's terror. I have to ask you guys, which perspective will you be choosing for Grace's campaign? Let me know down in the comments. Adding another layer of depth is a new panic system that Dusk Golem pointed out. When Grace is frightened, her run becomes faster and more desperate, but she's also more likely to trip and stumble. Her animations will physically change, with her breathing heavily and trembling after a close call. This isn't just a visual effect, it's tied to her character growth. As she becomes more confident throughout the story, her animations will become steadier and more controlled. It's a subtle but powerful way to show her character arc through gameplay itself. much like we saw with Chris and Piers in RE6. Of course, this is still a Resident Evil game, so let's talk items. We saw plenty of familiar sights and some new ones. Green herbs are back, and they have a more nostalgic, classic look, but there's also a new healing item called a med injector, which seems to be a full heal item for emergencies. Most interestingly, Press, who played the demo, found an empty ink ribbon cartridge. Yes, it seems the classic ink ribbon save system is returning, adding another layer of old-school survival horror tension, and for those worried, it's all running and hiding. Handgun ammo was also spotted, so don't worry, Grace will eventually be able to fight back. But Grace's story seems to be only half of the game. The leaks have been screaming for months that Leon S. Kennedy is not only in the game, but will be a playable character with his own distinct campaign. While Capcom is focusing all of their current marketing on Grace's atmospheric horror, the plan seems to be to reveal Leon later, and his gameplay is said to be completely different. The developers have said in the past that a character like Leon doesn't really fit into pure survival horror anymore. He's too capable, too much of a super agent, so the leaks suggest Leon's sections will be more action-oriented, featuring larger, semi-open world environments to explore. The comparison that keeps coming up is The Last of Us Part 2, with a focus on intense strategic combat and exploration over pure horror. It feels like Capcom is trying to give us the best of both worlds in a single package: the claustrophobic, terrifying horror of RE7 with Grace, and the beloved, polished action of the RE4 remake with Leon. If they can pull this off, Resident Evil Requiem could truly be a masterpiece that satisfies every type of fan. The hype is absolutely real, and what we've seen so far is just a tiny piece of a much larger, darker puzzle. What are your thoughts on all this new information? Are you more excited for Grace's atmospheric horror or the potential for Leon's action-packed campaign? Make sure to let me know your theories down in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any future updates on Resident Evil Requiem. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.